We have all seen those dream catchers with labeled Made in China or purses and rocks simulating indigenous designs. However, it is just a cheap print made in significant quantities by a big factory that take Native American designs without recognition, simply appropriate and profit from them without consent. Unfortunately, these prestigious tribes sometimes lack the resources or knowledge to pursue legal action. It was not until August 1953 that the Senate of Congress decided that Native Americans would follow and enjoy the same laws and benefits as a citizen of the United States. But the lack of public knowledge, the strict penalization for unfollowed regulations, and the disrespect of indigenous traditions and property continues today. According to the final regulation for the Act of 2000, made by Native American, encompasses crafts in which Native Americans invest the time to work and design materials transformed into art pieces. It's important to remember that these artifacts reflect the resilience of tribes since they adapted to natural resources available to the region and learned to craft tools that facilitated daily activities. The Kumeyaay is a tribe that was affected by the border between the USA and Mexico in 1838, which prohibited the mobility with sister tribes and natural resources they use for basket weaving like willow and spiny rush. Today, part of the tribe resides in San Jose de la Zorra in Baja California, Mexico. They adapted to their available resources, making baskets with juncus coil over deer grass. Native American utilize their crafts to teach and honor their spiritual beliefs used in traditional ceremonies. They help narrate their ancestor stories, connecting newer and older generations. The value of their crafts is where the details are. Kachina dolls are only made by the Hopi tribe, and they use the roots of cottonwood trees. These dolls, which are not gods, are called by them tithu. They are used in their ceremonies that, with dances and traditional rituals, honor around 200 spirits, including spiritual beings, impactful items, or animals as educational tools. The tribe ensured that the dolls sold to non-members for income and those used for ceremonial purposes had different characteristics. This is important to know since today, traditional artifacts used in ceremonial rituals are banned from being sold. It was between 1950 to 1970 when the items collected by the elite transformed into a popular commodity inspired by the prosperous American capitalist economy. Designs, artifacts, or textiles have often been culturally appropriated. But what does cultural appropriation mean? According to the peer-reviewed article by Humalayoki in 2019, cultural appropriation means when borrowing from a culture that is not one's own. When non-members of the tribe or designers steal Native American ancestral knowledge, this helps to continue the societal marginalization of indigenous people. Many indigenous designers are still affected by big corporations, like when KTZ brand stole Bethany Yellowtail great-grandmother's beadwork dress patterns, or when Urban Outfitters labeled clothing items as being made by Navajo tribe when it was all a lie. Possessing critical historical artifacts that can incorporate essential records that expand our knowledge of the past is crucial. We need responsible collectors who are aware of regulations and consume indigenous crafts respectfully. Stephen Mason is an American collector born in North Carolina. He moved to Los Angeles 20 years ago, but has been collecting art pieces from Native American tribes for over 31 years.
Hi, I'm Stephen Mason, and I'm a collector. My journey as a collector began when I was a kid, around 12 years old. I would travel with my grandparents to Cherokee, North Carolina. And on the way to the family house, I would always stop in Cherokee, which was about 15 minutes before we got there, and visit the different shops and vendors and artisans and entertainers that would be in the town, basically on the side of the street. I am interested in Cherokee and California Native American tribes because Cherokee, North Carolina is a place that I visited with my grandparents as a child. California has the largest concentration of federally recognized Native American tribes in the country. And I like to visit those tribes and learn more about those and where I live, and give California tribes the recognition of us living on their land. I don't think it's essential to know the backstory of every piece that you collect, but I do think that it's important to know as much information as you can about any piece you collect. I think it's essential to know the information of the artist so that you can support the current artisans that are making items that are literally disappearing by the day because fewer and fewer people are making these crafts. It's hard to make a basket from scratch or a piece of pottery from scratch, and it's very time consuming and then in the end very expensive. So we need more of those people continuing that craft, but also for you, the person who's buying it, to retain the information of who made that piece so that it can continue and the provenance of that item is known down the road for the next collector. The primary materials of the kumyai for their baskets is juncus coiled around deer grass, like these earrings. So the only part you see is the juncus. Some of it is natural, and then some of it is natural dyed to get different colors. I know members of the Kumyai tribe in San Jose de la Zora in Baja California, Mexico, and they are a smaller band that is part of 17 bands of the Kumyai that encompassed all of San Diego area, from Oceanside down to Ensenada. And this is Janet Salazar, who made these earrings from the Kumyai band in San Jose de la Zora.
How often do you see them?
We may go twice a year to visit the Kumyai in San Jose de la Zora. The perspective of the kumyai for others collecting their craft is encouraged and welcomed, as this art is their livelihood, their way of making a living. So they need collectors so that they can survive and that the craft continues. I have always encountered fake items in my search of arts and crafts and artifacts. There are many fake items on the internet as people purchase new items that are reproductions to look old or are exactly as the old ones but are not. So unless you know what to look for or know the material or have an artifact tested, then it can be, as a beginner collector, very confusing because there's a lot of fake artifacts on the internet. Buying original arts and crafts helps support the indigenous groups across the Americas, and you're continuing the craft that has been passed down through knowledge for thousands of years. Number two is the original art will hold its value. So your purchases help their survival and their livelihood.
His appreciation toward these historical pieces awakens from seeing his grandparents acquiring valuable art crafts.
Steven, so what do we have here?
This is a Cherokee purse or market basket made by Emmeline Garrett. And the material is all river cane. That's why it's also this shiny. River cane is very shiny. And the colors come from butternut squash and bloodroot. So that's how they get the colors.
How old is this piece?
This basket may be 50 or 60 years old, probably somewhere mid-century.
How do you keep it in such a good shape?
This basket is in a case behind closed doors,
Gotcha.
so that it doesn't get dusty, no hands touch it. I'm a very specific collector. Some people like to feel their things. I like to use them with my eyes.
Can you tell us a little bit about this basket?
The other basket is native to Northern California, Shasta County, and it came from a collector that was a botanist and a friend to many indigenous people and studied the materials that they used to make these baskets. And this one, that's shaped like this, is a burden basket, usually used to carry a collection of whatever they were going to collect, it being fruit, vegetables, flowers. But that's why it's in that shape.
So they would carry this one in their hands?
This one would be carried in their hands because it does not have a handle. Some were carried down their back. If it had a long strap, it would go around their forehead and they would lean over, and the burden basket being on their back if it's that large. This one was just probably carried in their hands. It's about the size that would fit in your arm.
And how do you know these pieces are original?
I know that these pieces are original because of the materials used. And also, on some baskets, they have a sticker specifically for the Cherokee tribe for the Department of the Interior. This is literally labeled Indian Arts and Crafts Board, genuine handicraft. So this came from the Cherokee Reservation, and it is part of the U.S. Department of the Interior. Websites that would help you find authentic indigenous items are websites that would be owned or operated by the indigenous groups. They're very informative and they're also written by the people. Also, to join forums or chat groups of people that post items that they do not know where they came from or origins or information, and then other people in that forum may know, and they join the chat. They give you their professional or amateur opinion of what they've been collecting, and then as a whole, people can kind of figure out where that may have come from. Being a Native American collector means that I can support my habit and I also am supporting the tribes. So we both gain something. I gain knowledge from the tribe, and the indigenous tribes can survive. So I fulfill my need to purchase their arts and crafts, and their arts and crafts will live on.
By appreciating these precious treasures, he has learned about American history and the origin of his ancestors.
you.